Dear students, welcome to class 8th. Today I'll be conducting the first online class of English and the topic is poetry. First of all, let's see the importance of learning poetry. Why should we learn poetry? How does it help to express ourselves better? Well, poetry has a lot of importance in our day-to-day lives. First of all, it helps us to understand ourselves better. Can you imagine? Have you ever wondered why you are thinking or feeling a certain way? Well, this inner confusion can be easily solved and found a solution when we streamline our thoughts to short, direct sentences while soothing the anxiety around us, thus slowing the world around us. Poetry, dear students, it does give us an insight into ourselves that you never knew existed, but always wanted to understand. So poetry gives you that power. It is a therapeutic reason for the reader to understand. For those having a hard time expressing themselves, reading a poem can have a similar positive effect as writing it. Reading poetry allows one to see into the soul of another person and can often open doors to feelings that are sometimes suppressed. Reading can shine a light on all those darkened and hidden corners of the heart and mind. Poetry helps you to understand the significance of the words themselves and the importance of its placement. And last but not the least, it helps to improve ideas. Picking up poetry and reading through classic poets can blossom ideas you never knew existed. It is a beautiful way to process experiences, visual descriptions, and emotions. Today, the poem that we are going to do is The Lost Dances of Cranes by Juliette Wilson. Now, talking a little about the poetess. She is a British poet and an environmentalist. This poem is a perfect example of her concern and anguish over the destruction of the environment. As you journey through life, you meet a few people who can change your perception of personal existence through one encounter. Juliette Wilson is one of those special people who, after speaking with her for just a few minutes, will cause you to reflect upon your personal pursuit of happiness. Juliette's gift and passion is to share her life's experience through poetry and written word. From the time she was just a child, she felt led to write poetry to inspire others on the beauty of living well. Where others would sing, she would offer to recite her poetry before her church gathering. Juliette's writing began after high school. Her desire was to be used as an instrument, even if only by a smile, as a blessing to others. Her question was, do you think God could use my poetry as a gift to others? Juliette, a mother of 3, educator, speaker, registered nurse, poet and author. Her professional career has led her to write poetry about her daily work experience and to write poems for the many patients that she attends. So students, now let's start with the poem The Lost Dances of Cranes by Juliette Wilson. First, let's read about the poet. Active environmentalist Juliette Wilson takes us gently through her vision of a world that is slipping away from the hands of its occupants, species of birds, the cranes, its lost habitat and nature, and its landscape is being lost and becoming extinct. Wilson, who is a meticulous observer of nature, is a patient recorder of the beauty that is fast disappearing from the world. She's out there enjoying the wonders of the world and recording their existence for those who will not be able to experience this natural beauty in this lifetime. The poem, Lost Dances of Cranes. Your fields are empty now, only your ghosts dance, while cranes of another kind dance cities into being. All that remain of you are a fading crackle of your energy and some grainy video footage that people in the new cities will watch to marvel at the wonders of the world once held. So, let's see what the poem is all about. The poem is written by Juliette Wilson. It reflects on the evolution from the endangered species to the development of cities through the construction of the mechanical cranes, that is the construction cranes. The poem is about something which is from the past and does not exist anymore in the present. Your fields are empty now, only your ghosts dance, while cranes of another kind dance cities into being. One of the main reasons that the bird crane is on the verge of extinction comes from the drastic reduction of wetlands due to the human desire to expand land on which things can be built. Since so many birds have been lost, they would be only memories, only ghosts. The poet connects construction cranes to the birds since they resemble each other in lankiness. Lankiness means something with a tall and a thin physique. Ironically, the cities is destroying the birds. The birds here are the natural cranes, the natural species of birds. All that remains of you are fading crackle of your energy and some grainy video footage. Now this paragraph here means by using the word you, the poet personifies the birds that are fading quickly, and the poet mentions what we have now, only memories and old, grainy, unclear video footages. This stanza sets up the next stanza with the specific things it mentions. That means this stanza builds up the curiosity, builds up the interest for the next stanza, and that is that people in the new cities will watch to marvel at the wonders of the world once held. This stanza totally captures an essential irony of modern living. We who live in cities thinking that we are getting and enjoying the real thing by watching nature videos. In fact, it's a very sorry state of affairs that a video is worse and a poor substitute for the actual birds. It is worse because it fools us into thinking that we are fully appreciating the natural beauty of our world watching documentaries, whereas it's nothing close to it. To them, that is the younger generation, it's a relic from the past which has no relation with their present world. A relic from the past means a memoir, maybe a memory, maybe something which you keep it as a memory which is from the past but which has no relation because this future generation has hardly experienced, has hardly seen the birds, have actually not enjoyed the presence of the birds, so they hardly know what they are missing. Now we come to the summary of the poem. In this poem, the poetess is concerned about the imbalance in nature, and so she makes a sad comment about a magnificent species of birds, that is the cranes. That is the bird which is in flesh and blood, which is slowly and silently dying out. Future generations, she sadly says, will only know about the mechanical cranes which are being used to construct new cities. The very old and unused documentaries and video recordings are also on the verge of extinction, maybe because they become so old. Now they are only in the archives. They become so old that they are not very clear. They become very grainy video footages, and so they seem to attract, no doubt they seem to attract the younger generation, but sadly stir no emotion or concern towards the nature, as their fascination, as their interest, as their curiosity is only superficial. They do not feel any connect, as they have no first-hand experience with these birds. So this is the poem. And now let's come to the question answers. First question, what do you mean by dance cities into being? Explain. That means how are the cities being constructed? Which cranes in typical are we talking about? And how are the city is being constructed, how the city is being made by the cranes. Which cranes we're talking about here, and which cranes are dancing to build these cities. A little hint. Then comes the second question. There are two dances mentioned in the first stanza. Which are they? The first is about the bird cranes, and the second, it is the mechanical crane. So what does each of them represent? Your answer can be in 20 to 30 words. In what condition do people find the video recordings and documentaries? So here the people we're talking about is the younger generation, that is you and me. And in what state? Are they clear? Are they unclear images? Give a little brief and answer and use appropriate adjectives. Then we come to question 4. Do you think that the city dwellers have the same attitude? Do you think the city dwellers, that is the younger generation, have the same concern? Are they equally curious enough? Are they equally concerned? Have they the same attitude and the same feeling towards the cranes as the speaker? So here the cranes we're talking about is the bird cranes. Do you feel the younger generation are also concerned, are also sad about the cranes that we have lost? If yes, please justify, and if no also, you can explain your answer. Then comes question 5th. Do you think the title of the poem matches its content? Can you think of something more appropriate, or maybe another heading to the poem? Then comes one of the very important aspects of the poem, that is the figure of speech. What does figure of speech actually do, students? It beautifies the poem. It makes the poem more attractive. It sets you into imagination. It sets you into thinking. It enriches your language. So that is the main, you can say, this is one of the main components of the poetry. So let's not miss this. What you have to do in here, in question 6, is that you have to pick out the figure of speech and also specify the lines picked up from the poem. Giving a few examples that you can touch. One is alliteration. What does alliteration do? This signifies the occurrence of the same letter or sound at the beginning of adjacent or closely connected words. So alliteration is basically repetition of the consonant sounds and not the vowels. Second is the metaphor. Metaphor basically compares between two unlike things, and these things are mainly unrelated, and they must be having something in common, but otherwise they are quite unrelated. And third comes the simile. Simile basically is again a comparison, somewhat like metaphor, but here we use as and than. Like an example here given in the brackets, as brave as a lion. You can say as light as a feather, as black as coal. This is how simile is used. So you have to pick up two lines justifying your answer and give proper examples for alliteration, metaphor and simile as well. And in question 7, simply you have to make sentences from the words that is given below. You can use the word empty, dance, energy, wonders of the world, and frame them into sentences of your own. And do underline the words where you have used them in the sentences. And now students, sharing with you 2 more poems of the poetess Juliette Wilson. Basically this will give you an insight and idea about how inspirational poems the poetess has been writing. So the first is, the dream just won't quit. The dream that is in me just won't quit. I try to forget it, but it just won't quit. I put it on the burner, way in the back. No matter what I do, it keeps coming back. I woke up this morning and what did I hear? A voice deep inside me saying, go without fear. I went to the neighbor to have a little chat. She said, you are born for this, and that is truly a fact. See how beautiful she's trying to inspire her readers through a simple poem. The second is Papayas and Lemons. I found this title interesting, so hence sharing with you all. In your garden grew a beautiful lemon tree. In mine there was a papaya tree. We breakfasted on fresh papayas, sprinkled with ginger and drizzled with lemon juice. Until one day, a raging storm blew down the papaya tree. Now we eat our breakfasts alone and you take your lemons to market. Basically, this shows the bond of friendship how friendship nurtures and grows two persons, and what happens one day when a raging storm, or maybe a difference in opinion, or maybe some conflict happens, and how both the friends are left on their own. See how beautiful the poem is. I hope you enjoyed both the poems. Thank you, students, and see you back soon. Bye.